never grow old, Michael. And you'll never die. Be one of us.
Notice anything unusual about Santa Carla yet?
It's a pretty cool place. If you're a Martian.
Or a vampire.
Dad.
Welcome to Maddie's Movie Mix, Freak Fest Friday edition.
You know where Hudson's Bluff is? I can't beat your bike. You just have to try and keep up. How far are you willing to go, Michael? Guess first. How are those maggots? Drink some of this, Michael.
Don't. It's blood.
Michael.
We'll be revealing plot twists and detailed spoilers. Harsh language is not our goal, but viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Now you know what we are. Now you know what you are.
Help me! Stay back! Stay back! Help me! My own brother, a vampire. You wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
Introducing Maddie.
I'm Matt.
I can't remember the last time that you invited me to your house for a cup of coffee.
You don't want to miss this.
Introducing Mr. Joshua.
That's hardly important, but if it matters, you may call me Mr. Joshua.
Josh.
You smell like garlic.
Well, it must not have been too terrible. You're back.
Yeah.
We're here doing it again.
A glutton for punishment.
Freak Fest Friday.
Yeah.
We're gonna do The Lost Boys, and this was one of those like 80s movies. I mean, 80s did such a phenomenal job. I mean, we both agree on that, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And cult classic and all those other things that you could call this. Joel Schumacher's first film, knocks it out of the park.
Definitely had a lot of style.
Yeah, Richard Donner was supposed to do it. He went over to Lethal Weapon. He still produced this, but he didn't direct it. So a lot of cool people involved. Kiefer Sutherland, just a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, everybody wanted to be Kiefer after this movie.
That's right. Yeah, he told a story once that he went into he and Jason Patric, they went into they went off set to have lunch. They went into some cafe, and he's in his whole vamp makeup and stuff, and so was Jason.
Oh, funny.
And they didn't even realize it because, they do it in the morning and then all day they're in all their makeup and stuff, and everybody's looking at them and things. And so it's kind of interesting because back then, imagine that. Like, nobody did that kind of stuff, even in Hollywood.
They'd be getting weird looks.
That's right. So, I probably watched this in around maybe 89, I suppose, 88, 89 at a friend's house. This is one of those like sleepover movies, right?
Yeah.
Like totally awesome for people to, all your buddies to freak each other out and all that kind of stuff as a young teen. And it was a lot of fun.
I wish I could remember when I first saw this movie. It's funny because I
was actually at Corey's house watching, but not one of the Corey's
not the Corey. It's funny, like some of these movies, I do remember the first time I saw Predator.
Yeah.
I actually saw it in theater with my parents.
Wow.
But like other movies, like it's a blur. They've been ingrained. You've watched them so many times that you don't even remember the first time you actually seen this movie. Like, or is this for me? I can't remember the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to have been on old cable TV late at night, I'm sure, with my mom. But I don't know when or how old I was.
Right.
I had been. Movie came out in '87, so I would at least been 5, 6, 7 years old around there when I saw it.
Yeah.
It's left a lasting impression for sure.
Absolutely. The second time I saw it was actually in Maine at a drive-in.
Okay.
a year ago.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
So it's been kind of
I mean,
it's been a while.
It had been a while, and I'm like, holy cow, this is good.
Yeah, it holds up. It holds up.
For
Special
sure.
effects hold up. The acting holds up. The production values hold up. It's still a very well done movie. I mean, even for today's standards, I think.
Absolutely. Today's standards, they like we'll CGI it. We'll CGI it. You know, that's the answer for everything is we'll CGI it. So I was going to say one thing that I've never noticed until just recently watching this on 4K. So there was a documentary that came out a few years ago called In Search of Darkness, and it was a documentary on all 80s horror movies and stuff like that. And one of the people and guests on the talking about it was talking about Lost Boys and how people were talking about how Twilight and their glittery sparkly vampires, right? And there's no such thing as glittery sparkly vampires. Vampires can't go out in the sunlight, they burst in flames. And they're like, but if you watch Lost Boys, their blood has glitter in it. And I'm like, bullshit. Sorry, but no way. And rewatching the movie in 4K, really,
it has freaking glitter when they come out after they stake Marco in the downed hotel, and they're running out into the car and the sunlight's on them. You look at their blood soaked outfits.
Yeah,
you can see the glitter in it.
No kidding.
And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Never seen that before.
I haven't either. I just watched this a couple days ago and I didn't notice it.
Check it out.
4K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I'd never noticed that until just recently.
Yeah. Wow.
Out of all the times I've seen this movie, I've never noticed that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's actually such good stuff. We probably should have held that for the question.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just teasing. But hey, we have we're going to give movie tickets away, and we're going to give those away to the first person that emails legitq@maddysmoviemix.com. The question is coming up, so get ready. The first person that emails legitq@maddysmoviemix.com, I'm going to email you 2 tickets to go to the theater and see whatever movie you want to. So we're going to have to think about that question. I have a whole list of them that are great, but not as great as that one, I don't think. That's a showstopper right there. Some of the things that were pretty cool, like for me back then, it's like the Goonies that had come out a couple years before this. It was kind of that growing up in that period, it was that camaraderie, that friendship. It doesn't really exist the same anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I can't remember, it was a documentary or something, another one I was watching, or they were talking about how you don't see those type of adventure movies with kids by themselves going out and doing things anymore, because kids don't do that anymore. Right. Kids don't relate to that anymore because they're all either sitting at home playing video games all the time, or the parents don't let them go out as much as they used to.
Right.
Like you watch, like for me growing up in the 80s and 90s, or mostly 90s, my parents would be like, we'd go run around town all day and just be home by dusk, when the lights turn on the streets, that's when we can come home. And they never was worried about where we were. They trusted us. We had common sense back then. And I also think the world, I think, has shifted a little bit too in the dangers out there too.
I think one of the dangers is, I was actually talking about this recently with somebody. I think the big danger is that nobody will stand up and say no, right? Like if you see something, people would be like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I think that's shifted. That's the big one. They want to look the other way.
They just want to stay in there. I don't know if it's everybody. I'm sure there's some people that would say something and do something. Yeah. It just depends on the individual. But I think for the most part, you're in town, you see something going on, someone yelling at someone or whatever, your first instinct is just, mind your own business. Or for me anyway, I have kids I can't interact with that. I can't intervene with that. Right. I don't want to put my kids in jeopardy or anything like that. So I kind of have to, That's the way I would see it anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Maybe call for help to come.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. But there is, because people, like you say, the common sense is gone in almost everybody anymore. Yeah. And so they'll freak out on you too. If you say anything. And it used to be like, when you'd say something to somebody, they'd stop and like, oh yeah, I was kind of being a dink, and nowadays nobody's a dink anymore.
Nobody wants to be responsible or held accountable for their actions, or don't want to be known as a dink. You know?
Totally. Yeah, we were out on like 3-wheelers back then, and it gets dark out, and come home, and the sleepovers. I mean, my parents know about this now, so I'm okay. But we'd push the 3-wheelers and everything out at dark, everybody's in bed. We'd push them down the roadways and go hit the trails, and stupid crap like that. But it was really cool and refreshing to watch it, because it reminded me of that and how they did build films around that kind of stuff, because that's really what happened. Kids kind of, or young people in this case, saving the world, and all that.
I'm not the biggest Joel Schumacher fan, but this movie and his Phantom of the Opera, I think they're decent movies. I mean, this one's obviously a cult classic. But this is another example of, and we talked about this with Fright Night too, is the studios didn't get involved with the artist's vision, right? He came on board and he said, this is what I want to do. And they pretty much let him do it, and it worked.
And I think, that's a good point, because I was looking at the budget. I think that's because it was one of those budgets. It was $8.5 million that they had for this. It's one of those budgets that's kind of under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it did 32.2 in the box office.
And as how well this did in the box office, and how popular it was, I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't get sequels.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a real clear reason why.
I don't know. I mean, it did well enough, and it was super popular. And the two Coreys, obviously this was the beginning of the two Coreys, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. This was their first movie together, and they launched their two Coreys' career for several movies, going forward.
Was it like 9 or 10 of them, wasn't it?
I can't remember how many, but there, this License to Drive, National Lampoon's Last Resort, I think that was another one. But yeah, it's. I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't sequels. I mean, and I know there was plans for a sequel,
right?
But they just never happened.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I think maybe some of the people involved, like Schumacher, or even Richard Donner, maybe he's like, hey, you're too involved in this. This isn't art anymore. You're trying to make this, whatever. I remember like Halloween, probably a year or two after this came out, people were dressing up like Kiefer and stuff. Quite a few people. So that was kind of cool too. Of course, there's good old Santa Clara, and it's actually Santa Cruz is what they. So somebody in Santa Cruz apparently got a hold of the script, because that's where they filmed some of it. They filmed some of it in LA and some in Santa Cruz. And somebody in the city uppers said, no, look, we don't want you saying this is the murder capital of the world in the film, and then people associating this bad, and all that kind of stuff. So they said, I mean, Santa Clara, that's clearly different. It's weird. One of those funny things. How did they get some of these actors, though? I mean, like Edward
Dianne
Herrmann
Wiest.
and that was one of the things too. Looking at this again, like how even Jason Patric. I mean, he was sort of known family. Certainly.
Yeah. Well, because his father is
the exorcist priest.
Yeah, Gabriel.
Yeah.
I can't think of his.
I can't either, but
first name. But and Corey Feldman was already pretty popular by this point too, because he had done Stand By Me and Friday the 13th.
So Stand By Me wasn't out yet.
Oh, wasn't? Okay. No. It was 1 year later, 88. Yep. Okay.
They filmed it.
Okay.
Before this, I think 99% sure.
Okay.
If I remember right, but there's so much useless information in this stupid brain of mine that who knows. But yeah, and then Barnard Hughes, he classic kooky grandpa.
So did you ever
by the way, I forgot my root beer and Oreos.
Oh.
Second shelf.
So, second shelf is mine. I was gonna say, at the very end of the movie, did you ever have that feeling that he was a vampire, or that something was kind of fishy there? because like when you see him walking in and everyone's like looking at him, like he's going into the kitchen to grab something out of the fridge, and he's got the shades on, and it's kind of like you kind of thinking like, well, what's going on here? You know?
Well, and he seemed to have a bunch of information,
and then,
but he wouldn't quite talk about it.
Yeah, and then he's like, one thing I hate about Santa Carla is all the damn vampires.
Right.
It's like you knew about this the whole time, and you didn't bother letting everyone know.
Right.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. The one of the negative things though for me, I didn't really care for. It was very obvious that Max was, the head vamp.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they did, this dog scene for one.
Yep.
That was pretty obvious. And so that was just one thing that I kind of was a little.
They play that red herring,
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's like, that whole bit about you invite a vampire into your home, you're inviting trouble and you're powerless against it, And I've always thought that was kind of weird. It's like, okay, but you're giving him garlic and stuff like that. You would think that it would still have some sort of effect on him, even though he's in the home,
right?
Just because you invited someone, and of course they make up their own rules of how they want to do the movie, whatever. But in normal vampire lore, it's like these are things that they're, they have a what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word.
Standard rules,
it's like the crosses, or crucifixes, the holy water, stuff like that. It's just because you invite them in doesn't. Now they're just
they're immune to everything. Right.
So
No, I know.
I thought that was kind of
that was very weird too. It is interesting because they sort of who wrote the Dracula big famous book back in
Bram Stoker.
Bram Stoker, yeah. That was the only thing that he was ever successful with.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know of. I know he probably
wrote quite a few things.
Yeah, I just haven't.
It's the only thing
really stuck.
Yeah, and I think even in some of that was not really, the canon was a little bit off and stuff. But they sort of that was supposed to be the measurement about vampire stuff was that Bram Stoker's, because that was the first time. He wasn't the first one to bring it in and write about any
really?
of it. No, that went way, way back.
I haven't really dug that deep into it. I've always kind of thought Bram Stoker's Dracula was kind of the birth of the vampire.
No, there was lore and stuff that went way back. Yeah,
I'll have to look
he
into
was
that.
the one that sort of made the rules.
Okay.
Like Scream.
Okay.
All the rules.
The rules.
He was the one that kind of brought all that, the garlic and the crucifix and everything. I did like in Fright Night though how it was, you got to believe.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that aspect of it. For stronger vampires, older vampires, they rise above. They become more powerful as they are. The older they get, I think it's a cool idea to have. Is you have to have faith for this to work on me, Mr. Vincent. And I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I really do too. So, have we thought of the question that we want to do? Do you have something?
I like the one that you had originally picked
with the music.
No,
or the other one.
The
gloves.
The gloves. Yeah.
The gloves. Let's do the gloves. All right. So, why did David, Kiefer Sutherland's character, wear gloves in the film? Gotta go digging. Email legitq@maddysmoviemix.com. See, there's a timestamp on that, so I'll know exactly who emailed first, and we'll email you some tickets, two tickets to a movie. Yeah, I like that one.
That was a good one.
And even especially back then, that was a real thing.
The reason I like that is because I didn't know about that. Oh. I actually did not know that question, so that was good.
Yeah, good. I got you.
Yeah.
One of the things, so opening scene, the boardwalk thing, and they kind of establish how all that stuff was, who the villains were, so to speak, and that was kind of neat. Yeah.
Speaking of the merry-go-round boardwalk scene, the order in which they're walking in that scene at the beginning, it foreshadows the order the vampires die.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it starts with Marcus and then goes to David being last.
Okay.
So it's kind of a neat little bit of foreshadowing there. I like that.
Yeah, that is cool. I had no idea either. But back in the 80s, obviously music was a huge thing, and they did spend quite a bit of time on it
and the hair
stuff
bands.
like that. Yeah, exactly. And so that was a big thing in this. The sexy saxophone player, that was bizarre.
I still believe.
So I don't know who wrote that song, but that song actually it is basically belongs to a different artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and his name is Russ Taff.
Okay.
So he's the one that made that song popular. And I'm not sure which came first, if he like bought the rights to the song or however that worked, and so then they had it in the movie or vice versa.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I should play that for you and see what you think of the different versions. Do you remember what it kind of sounded like? Yeah. And so I'm a big older Russ Taff stuff. And so when I saw this movie back then, I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't sing the song. I know who sings the song because I had seen him in concert as a teenager, and he sang that song, right?
That's funny.
Yeah. So then I see the movie at my buddy's place, and I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not who sings it. And I really like Russ Taff's version better. So I don't want to pull up here. I know that let's find it. Unless they got rid of it. Here it is. Recognize the...
Yeah. Yep, same lyrics.
Yeah, that's...
So I would imagine they would probably had to, if they wanted that song, they probably would have had to get the rights from him to play it.
And I'm not sure which came first, if he had it first or they had it first, however they got it in the movie. But yeah, I'm like, that's one of those childhood things.
I love the cinematography in this scene, the way the light is shining, and you just kind of see their silhouettes. And how they're kind of hiding in the darkness until the full reveal when they look into the light and you see they're vampires, Yeah. I love this scene, like the way they do it.
Yeah, I do too. And the beginning, so I love that, and I think we talked about that with Fright Night also, but I love how they kind of build you up and make you think like how horrible something is gonna be, and then not show it. And this scene too was like they were coming out as that and hiding in the shadows and getting ready to feed, and that was very cool, very well done.
I love the lighting.
Yeah.
How it's pretty much just lit from the bonfire there. It's neat.
Yeah, absolutely. What else on this? You know what? I just had a thought. So we've talked about, and it's probably weird to talk about this on the podcast, but we talked about, how to rate the film somehow.
Yeah.
How to what about so we're calling this Freak Fest. So 2 F's or 1 F?
Oh.
F it?
F it.
2 F's up, 2 F's down, 1 F, I don't know. That's something. This is both freaky and it's a fest, man. You can totally have a lot of fun with it. And this would be a really fun one to hang out and watch. But
we were talking about, or you were talking about how with Santa Cruz, didn't want to be known as murder culprit. It's actually there was a bit of time there where they were considered. They were plagued with the reputation of being the murder capital of the world because of a series of very brutal murders
serial murders, weren't they?
In the 70s. Right. 28 murders over a 30-month period between 1970 and 1973. So then this movie comes along, and a lot of this filming takes place in Santa Cruz, and it's like, oh, we'll call it Santa Carla. Yeah,
right, I know, that's going to help, exactly. In Excess, they were a pretty big part of the music too. We were just talking about music, and that's actually one of the big reasons, I guess, why Kiefer decided he would do the film. It's because he was either friends or had known one of the members of In Excess, and he really loved their stuff because he's a musician.
Okay.
He really like I think he's even like now he's touring and stuff.
Oh wow,
He did like
really?
a couple years ago or so. Yeah, plays guitar and sings. He's not great, but it's just kind of funny.
It's a nice hobby to have. I mean,
Yeah.
being an actor and then going and doing that, you know, for fun.
Yeah, exactly. So the sexy sax player though, I want to go back to him. Like that ripped dude, that's kind of weird.
That's I'm gonna say that's a Joel Schumacher thing right there.
Yes.
To have that in the movie.
Yes.
It's like
Do
out
you
of
know
nowhere.
why?
Why?
His sexual preference.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay.
That's,
yeah, I know that.
That's exactly why it was in there.
I was like, you got this really cool vampire movie, and then all of a sudden, sexy saxophone player. It's like, how random is that?
Right.
You know, aside from having Michael the first time seeing Star, you know, aside from that, there's really no reason to have. You could have had any type of musician up there. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is what it is.
Up.
It is what it is.
I know.
It's whatever.
So I think his name is Timmy Capello or something like that. I don't know. I might have it somewhere. But he actually was like legitimately a musician that toured with people like Tina Turner for like 15 years.
Oh wow.
Back maybe after this, I don't know, but Carly Simon, Peter Gabriel, he did a lot of stuff with a lot of people.
Timmy Capitello, yeah.
Okay.
Beach Concert Star is his name
Sure.
for the movie.
Yeah.
Beach Concert Star.
Yeah.
Sexy saxophone player sounds better.
I think that this kind of rolls off the tongue, you know, on awkward way, but it sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, so this, you know, just it has so many things like planted in it, and you know they showed like real power in this film right at the beginning where they ripped off a roof.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that. Those
and I really
things.
liked that whole beginning there, like that, where like when they take out the security guard, and then also when they take out the couple in the car, it's all, you don't see them, you know, and you're imagining this yet, and so I like that building up to that reveal, like I was saying with the at the beach there with the bonfire, building up to that reveal there. I like that build up.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what they did. They were so creative with stuff back then, right? They're like, how can we do this? We need to, you know, build this up. We can't do, you know, big explosions with $8.5 million. They didn't have hardly anything for CGI.
No.
You know, and so I love that when they do stuff like that.
And I love the dialogue or the writing too. Is so like the banter between Sam and Michael. I was telling my wife this too. One of my favorite lines from this movie is the scene where he first finds out that Michael is a vampire or turning into one, and he's like, "Oh, you wait till Mom finds out, buddy." You know, it's like it's like exactly something the kids would say back then.
Totally.
Or even now, you know, like you got brothers and they're like, one of them does something wrong, and they're like, "Well, wait till I tell Mom and Dad," or whatever. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
That is perfect. Like that's gonna be relevant at all with a vampire that can rip you apart.
Yeah.
And that doesn't care about parents or anything.
Yeah.
I know it. Yeah, and here we are again. Grandpa's preparing.
Yep. Well, that's what
the whole
some foreshadowing there.
Yeah, I know it is. It's interesting. It would be very cool for a reboot on something like this, and they really dig into the story.
I don't know if I'd want to reboot though. Like it's just the way some movies in the 80s. A lot of them, I just feel like they don't need to reboot or remake. You know, it's like Fright Night. They did already. They remade it, and it's just the remake is bad.
I haven't seen that.
I wouldn't mind seeing like a prequel. They could do a story before these, you know, something to kind of set up how the vampires got in Santa Carla. I'd be okay with that. An additional story onto this, but not rebooting.
What they would need, what I would like to see them do is they film it like this.
Yeah.
Right, like the 80s type style. Like they're
keep it
not trying
in that
to do CGI.
Yeah.
You know,
well, actually, it wouldn't even need to be 80s. I mean, the vampires could have came to Santa Carla 50, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. They could do something like that.
But still have like very minimal CGI type stuff.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I really wish studios would dial back on the CGI with stuff. You know, try and do practical as much as possible. And I understand why they do it because practical effects take a long time. They're time consuming. They're not very cost effective.
Some of them are dangerous. Yes, there is that.
And there's that too. So I understand why they do the CGI, but if they can, something's got to change. Something's got to turn at some point and realize there's just the overuse of CGI is not benefiting these movies, in my opinion.
I agree 100%, especially if they want to have people coming back to the theater.
Yeah.
They got to really have some good stories, some good films that aren't just overblown and weird. But yeah, hey man, that's such a good film. 2 F's up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a random weird thought, so we'll probably not do that. I never say I have good ideas. I just have ideas. So,
and I mean, and you want to, or continuing the story. Like, I mean, there are the 2 sequels that they've done already that are very lackluster. I would advise you not to bother wasting your time watching them. But if you love Lost Boys and you want more Lost Boys, watch them. I mean, you can watch them and see what you can make up your own. You can form your own opinion of them. Yeah. Maybe you like them. I don't personally like them. I don't. But and there's also a comic series too that dives into the story a little bit more too.
So I don't get into many other things other than movies. I do watch some TV, but not much. Not much at all.
I'm not a big TV guy. Yeah. Like shows. My wife loves watching series, and I can't get into them. And
the problem with series is that they kind of start them out like at where they're gonna have this, say, 2 or 3 season, and then they're gonna end them.
Yeah.
But then they get so popular, and they just like screw it up.
I can handle like miniseries. Like if I know there's an end in sight, like and there's a formulated or constructed beginning, middle, and end to the story, I can do that. But when you get to season 10 of The Walking Dead, I don't.
I never made it past 9. I don't even think I made it through 9.
I made it to season 8, and it's just at some point I just was like, I got burnt out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in total agreement there. Last thing I have, Ben Stiller, he auditioned for The Lost Boys. It doesn't say, he talked about it in 2010, but he didn't say like
what role.
It's they narrowed it down to either one of the 2 Coreys or Kiefer's role.
Okay.
But I bring it up because can you imagine Ben Stiller in this in any role?
No. And this is also another great example of the cast that they picked. It was like they were born for these parts for these movies. You can't see anybody else in these roles.
Yeah,
I can't.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Revisit it.
It was like a lightning in the bottle.
Yes. People need to revisit it.
Oh, definitely.
People are. I went to a movie last night, Friday night, and which I don't normally have the time on a Friday night to go. So I was like, this will be fun. There's going to be a lot of people. It's a big movie.
Not very many people.
And there was nobody there, man. There was like, and it was cool out last night. So it's not like it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't.
It's COVID and streaming have really killed the box office. It is most people now, and I'm guilty of it too. Like there's some movies like I'll be there day, like first night was like Indiana Jones. I went opening night. Yeah. I was excited to see it. Other movies, it takes a month, maybe 2 now to get to streaming.
2 at most.
Yeah. So it's like I'm not going to chisel out time out of my day to go to the theater, pay $50 to go see a movie, and then when I could literally buy the movie for $25 off Vudu in 2 months.
Right.
It's just. If it's a movie,
speaking of the money too, she goes, and your total is. I go, whoa, I don't want to know. Yeah, I'm like, just give me the, here's money. I don't tell me what the total is.
The last movie, I got 4 kids, wife and me, and last movie we went to with all of us to the theater was Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
it was not including drinks or concession candy or anything like that. It was $90.
Yeah,
just for the tickets to get the seat. So it's like, if it's a big movie, I'm willing to pay if I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
But it's got to be something that I really want to see in the theater.
It's
got to be like Lord of the Rings level.
Yeah.
Maybe Mario Brothers isn't Lord of the Rings level, or
it is with the kids.
But you know what I'm saying? It's got to be something that would benefit the big screen experience.
Yes.
If it's just like another comedy,
Yeah.
I can wait till it hits Netflix, for all I care.
It's one of those things, if it was cheaper, would more people go? And then if it is cheaper, how does that all work? I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but it's like one of those things like, well, it's so expensive, nobody can afford to go. But if it was less expensive, maybe they couldn't afford to stay open either. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
So one of those things, but yeah. What else? You got anything else? We wrap it up.
I think I got everything that I wanted to get off my chest.
It was so fun to watch. I'll watch. We were just talking about off screen about my outdoor screen and stuff, and I haven't really been able to use it this year, and really not. I don't think much last summer either. Now that I say that out loud, this one would be a great one to watch out there.
Yeah. And I just love that it has, it's got the horror elements, but then also has comedy in there too. It's a fun horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, thanks for checking us out, and make sure that you leave a comment. I am Matt, and this is Mr. Joshua. Wait, did I get that right?
Mr. Joshua.
Josh, yeah. We should put the clip in here of Mr. Joshua.
That'd be funny.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.